Hello, this is Mr. Vandergriff, and this is lesson 4.1, the South Pacific Island Ecosystem. So go ahead and get your Moon Jellies booklets out, and let's get started. Just before we jump into that, I wanted to ask you to write down in your booklet just one word that sums up how you're feeling today. So you can see this little emoji over here is like really excited because that would be the word that I'm feeling right now. And one of the reasons is because this is my son Samuel here, and he's been working really hard to get an offer to a college to play men's soccer. So he just got accepted to Biola University. They're Biola Eagles, at a men's 2 division soccer. So it's one of his lifelong goals is to play soccer in college. So I'm super excited for him. So again, what is something that you're excited about? Write that word down, or maybe a word that you're feeling. Maybe you're feeling a little tired, or I don't know what that word is, but write it down. Mine is exciting. All right, let's get into it. So the learning intention for lesson 4.1. All students will apply their knowledge and about populations and resources in a new context to answer the question. What was the main cause of the decrease in the size of the orange-bellied parrot population? The success criteria. I can apply what I have learned and know about the interactions in one ecosystem to determine interactions in another ecosystem. Now, if you'd go ahead and go to page 103, and what I'd like you to do in your Moon Jelly booklet, go to page 103, go ahead and underline the unit question and read it aloud. And then go ahead and underline the chapter question and go ahead and read that aloud as well. Read over the key concepts. And if you would do that 2 times in a really soft voice, but read it really quiet. And then read over all of the vocabulary words. And you can read those in a really loud voice. But then what I want you to do is just pick 2 of those vocabulary words. And with those 2 vocabulary words, just draw a non-linguistic representation. And all that's a fancy way of just saying draw a picture that represents maybe a consumer population and maybe one thing eating another, or a resource population of that being eaten by a consumer population. So go ahead and do that. So let's along here. So here we are on 103. Pause the video and go ahead and read over all the questions and concepts. All right, now that you've done that, and you've gone over the vocabulary, and this is where you're going to put your 2 drawings of any of these 2 vocabulary words, right? Stability, maybe. You could put someone on a teeter-totter, and maybe it's stable, okay? All right, so for your warm-up, let me go ahead and read this warm-up here. It says here, thank you for your excellent work. We appreciate your help in solving the mystery with the moon jelly population explosion here in Glacier C. Now I have a new mission for you. Ecologists are working hard on an island in the South Pacific Ocean and have reported a decrease in the size of the orange-bellied parrot population over the past 30 years. We hope you can help us figure out why this is happening. I'll be sending you some data soon. So go ahead and pause the video and respond to this warm-up. All right, now this is kind of what I was thinking. I just have some ideas here. I thought, well, maybe a new predator was introduced to the island. Or maybe there's some pollution. Or maybe some habitat destruction. Or maybe some virus or disease, some tick or mite or microbe or bacteria or prion or virus are attacking these parrots. Or maybe it's something with the climate change. So you didn't have to have all of that, but maybe you had maybe a couple of those. If you did, give yourself a high five. Yeah, I love it. All right, now we're going to be focusing on the land down under. So let me get my little globe right here. I don't know if you can see this. Here's our globe. And there we go. Here's the continent of Australia. And right below that is Tasmania. So that is from the land down under. So I've been there a couple times. I've got my little hat. How you going, mate? So I'm excited about Australia and the island below. So if you can see the zoom in bubble, this is where this is going to be taking place. And they've got some really unique animals like the Tasmanian devil. And you've got this other little marsupial right here. This one right here is kind of like a kangaroo. I think this is a red-bellied panda melon. It's in between a wallaby and a kangaroo. And then you've got these bushtail possums. These are really cool. One of my favorite is the wombat. These things are a huge marsupial. That's a really small one right there that looks like one of the zookeepers is holding there. So they've got some very unique animals. Now, wombats are found in Australia, but most of these other animals are only found in Tasmania. So that means they're endemic. All right? Now, let me go back. Here we go. So, as you can see here, stability and change. We're going to be thinking about that cross-cutting concept during this mission. So sometimes, especially in islands, sometimes when there's a small change in the ecosystem, and usually it might be when humans move in and there's some habitat destruction or something's going on, sometimes that can really affect a population or have it even go extinct. Like the dodo birds, and I think it was Captain Cook that brought in the dogs that ended up eating the dodo birds, right? This flightless bird. So again, especially on island ecosystems, they're really, really fragile systems. So we want to be talking about stability and change, but you also could be thinking of system and system models. We also could be thinking of cause and effect. So here's the challenge. The orange-bellied parrot population is decreasing. There's only one place in the world that these parrots are found, and that's in Tasmania. And right now, I do believe it's decreased to the point where there's only 100 in the wild, which is crazy. It's crazy to think about, mate. 100, that's it. And then they're gone forever, all right? So we really want you, as a student ecologist, to help figure this out. So here's the Tasmania ecosystem population. You've got this button grass, orange-belly parrots. We've got these pixie parasol mushrooms. We've got the feral cats, the sparrow hawks, the red foxes, Tasmanian devils, and Mrs. DeMeyer will be going over why they really got that name Tasmanian devils. And then the long-nosed podoros, and then we've got the sparrows. Now, see, some of these were actually introduced by humans that are not indigenous to Tasmania. And I know one would be the feral cats, and the other would be, I believe, the red foxes here. So, when species are introduced, it really does affect the system and system models. So remember, ecosystem. And so the boundaries are the coastline of this island, Tasmania. So here's the question to think about. How does this example show how small changes in one part of an ecosystem might cause large changes in another part of the ecosystem? How could bringing just a few individuals of an organism to a new ecosystem, like an island, cause big changes to that ecosystem? So go ahead and pause the video for a minute and think about that. Okay, so hopefully you came up with some things. Possibly that new species might prey on another more vulnerable species that doesn't have a defense for that new predator that has been introduced. Okay? Now, if you'd go ahead and turn to page 106 in your Moon Jelly booklet, and let's get back to taking a look at this model right here and the claims. So this is on page 106. I've got it in color here. Here's the science seminar question. What was the main cause of the decrease in the size of the orange-bellied parrot population? So here are the two claims. The population decreased because, claim one, the births decreased. So if you take a look here, there's 2 births, 2 deaths. Over here, there's 2 deaths, so they stay the same, but the births have decreased. So is there enough evidence to argue that that is the correct answer to the claim? Or claim 2, right here, the population decreased because deaths increased. So again, we have 2 deaths here and 2 births, but over here we have 2 births still, but we've got more deaths right here. So is that the cause? And so you're going to be collecting evidence to prove one of those claims. So introduce the science seminar. So you're going to evaluate evidence using the evidence criteria. Remember, the more sites, the more samples, you're going to get a better picture, big picture of the overall health and number of the population, of the whole population. Determine how the evidence connects to the claims. Participate in a science seminar in which you will share your ideas about the evidence and argue your cause. So you're going to be doing that at home with people at home. Mrs. DeMeyer is going to be going over more details with that. And then you're going to be writing and supporting one of the claims. So if you would go to page 106, I think you're already there, and go down to the bottom. And it says discussing the ecosystem food web. So what you're going to be doing here, it says I was supposed to pass out some cards to you, but obviously you're not in class. So I'm going to be passing out these cards for you, these population cards. I think there is a total of 9 of them. And so if you go to the 7th grade Olive Pierce 7th grade science webpage, you just go to the Google to do this week calendar, click on 7th grade science. It's going to take you to the website. And from there, you click on today's lesson. There will be a link to get these cards. You can print them out, or I'm going to show you the cards. You can take them with your picture. If you have no way to print them out, obviously, then you'll get a packet, and they'll be printed out for you. So those are some different options. On page 107, we've got resource population and consumer population. Use the island population cards to help you add arrows to the food web. Remember to add the arrows pointing from the resource population to the consumer population. Okay, so you might be able to do some of this right now, but with having the cards, they're really going to help you out. Let me give you an example. So you've got the orange-bellied parrots right here. Orange-bellied parrots are migratory birds that reproduce on the island. But then in the winter, I think they fly to the mainland Australia, and then they come, and then they fly to Tasmania back and forth, okay? Consumer population, feral cats and red foxes would eat the parrots. The resource population, what do the orange-bellied parrots eat? They eat the button grass. Okay, over here, button grass. Button grass is a type of grass that provides habitat and food for many organisms. Consumer population is the orange-bellied parrot, and then the sparrows. So with this information, you could see, all right, that the orange-bellied parrots eat the button grass, but the arrow's going this way, showing that the energy storage molecules, the carbohydrates, the sugars, the stuff that this is made through photosynthesis, is being transferred to the bird. Okay, so what you want to do is go ahead and fill this out with different arrows, but you're going to need the cards. So you've got the mushroom here. Over here, you've got the long-nosed potteroo. Over here, you've got the sparrow, button grass. You've got feral cats, Tasmanian devils, orange-bellied parrots, red fox, and then last, we've got the Sparrow Hawks here. So you can go ahead and reverse the video, rewind it, and get all your information that way if you want to get it, and then just write it down in your booklet, or you can find it on our website with the lesson. So go ahead and draw all the arrows how you think it should be. And again, remember, use these population cards. So pause the video and draw your arrows using your resources of the population cards. All right. Hopefully that went really well, and you have something that looks like this. So go ahead and check what is eating what. Now, the goal over the next 3 lessons. This is lesson 4.1. You've got 4.2 and 4.3 that Mrs. DeMeyer is going to cover, and then we're going to wrap it up with lesson 4.4 with our assessment. We want to make a claim that can be supported with evidence. Okay? Remember the evidence criteria. Samples that represent as much of the whole as possible provide stronger evidence. Okay? Remember, we're talking about this evidence gradient here. So this is strong evidence up here, and then the weaker or less strong evidence down here. And from those cards that we're going to be looking at, you are going to be evaluating the evidence. So here's our evidence card A, button grass. So you've got your details there. You can see that the button grass, over the last 50 years, ecologists have been taking samples and counting population here, one place there, and it looks like from this graph the population is going up over the last 50 years. So they went from 1950 to 2000, which is 50 years. Now I'm going to give you a time frame here of the data. Scientists have noticed that the population has been decreasing. They started realizing about in the year 2000, so that the population of these parrots started going down. All of the population data was received from 1950 to 2000. So 50 years before they noticed the parrots were decreasing. So in the year 2000, they noticed the parrots were decreasing. But all of these cards that you're going to be looking at, these evidence cards, the data was collected from 1950 to the year 2000. So keep that in mind when you're trying to rank and judge the evidence here. All right, so what are you going to be doing here? You're going to be getting some evidence cards. So you need to read and annotate each evidence card. Then you're going to discuss your annotations with your partner or your fabulous audience at home, whether it's your pet or grandpa or mom, dad, brother, sister, stuffed animal. You're going to be, or maybe talk to yourself in the mirror, right? And then from there, you're going to place the evidence cards of which you think is the strongest evidence all the way to the weakest evidence. So let's go ahead and take a look at the evidence cards. Again, you can find these evidence cards on our website, and you can print them out there, or you can go to the link, or I'm going to provide them right in here in this video, or they will be in the packet printed out for those of you that don't have a way to print those out. And so the first one we have is A, with the button grass. Second is feral cats. B. C is the red foxes. D is the sparrows. E is the Sparrow Hawks. F, Tasmanian devils. G, long-nosed potoroos. And H is the parasol mushrooms. So those were our cards. Let me just double check here really quick again. We've got A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. All right. So you can stop, pause, and take a picture with your cell phone or sketch down and annotate. Some of these, actually, there was no evidence collected at all. Okay. So I'm going to show you 3 that Mrs. DeMeyer has done. She's going to go into way more detail, but this one is for the Sparrow Hawk, and you can see here she has some annotations here. 8 locations. Over here, there's actually no evidence for the mushrooms, so she's got a little sad face. Question mark, why? Why wasn't it collected? And here's one for the Tasmanian devil right here. So again, what I need you to do is go to all of the evidence and annotate all those cards, and after you've annotated those cards, then just rank them of what's the strongest evidence to the weakest evidence. Last thing we do right here is the homework. All right. So you want to try to make some connections with something else that you've learned, and this might remind you of some other cause and effect relationship. So go ahead and read through that. Complete your homework. So go ahead and pause the video. Work on that homework right now. Now that your homework is done, I did steal this from one of Mrs. DeMeyer's wonderful screencasts, Dance Party. So I don't know how to do the bit emoji thing yet, but go ahead and do your happy dance. And I just put my face on there. Happy dance, happy dance. You are done with lesson 4.1.